So, what if you're in a country where the waters are polluted? What are you going to do about the kelp or some of the sea products that you mentioned? What do you do for that?
Well, I don't eat them if the beach is polluted. I don't eat them. But the most polluted countries are actually the Western countries. If I'm in, with the exception of Australia, if I'm in southern Australia, for example, way down near Melbourne on the Great Ocean Road,
Uh huh.
I'll go down there. I'll eat seaweed right out of the ocean because it's so clean.
Yeah.
But right now, let's say I was in Japan with this whole nuclear disaster, I would not touch any seaweed coming out of there for 10,000 years at this point, with how much nuclear waste has gotten into the seawater table over there. We've got to be very careful actually about our food because in the old days it didn't really matter. There wasn't as much contamination. We didn't have all the chemicals in the environment. But that is not the situation today. Today we have chemicals of all different types and descriptions. In typical municipal water in America, we have over 2,100 carcinogens in the water supply. And we've got to get a filter or we're going to become a filter. We've got to be very careful about what we're choosing and where it's coming from.
What about kids? High school kids. What would be step one for having a different lunch?
Eat an apple. I work with kids in elementary schools,
you?
junior high schools, and high schools. Every now and then I do that kind of stuff for fun. So I'll take a day off and I'll just go do events at
Yeah.
elementary schools.
Yeah.
And when you're in an elementary school, like a sixth grade classroom,
Yeah.
you can only get one thought across to the kids in the hour that I spend with them or 2 hours that I spend with them. There's just no way you can get the idea of raw food in there, or
Yeah.
vegetarianism, forget about it. And
Yeah.
you just got to focus on one thing
Yeah.
that they're going to do. So I teach kids a lot of times how to grow their own tomatoes, and that's a lot of fun. So it gets them connected to the magic of growth
Okay.
and gardening. Sometimes we'll talk about just the importance of eating an apple every day and
Yeah.
skipping the junk and eating something that's fresh. What I do is extreme. I'm an explorer, and
Yeah.
I like to explore the
Yeah.
extreme. That's what I've decided to do with my life.
Yeah.
Like some people decide they're going to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
Some people decide they're going to be an airline pilot. That's an extreme job. You got to fly all
Yeah.
night. It's
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
Jet lag. It's tough. So each one of us in our lifetime, we've got to decide
What it is.
what we're going to do,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I've decided that's for me. We've got to now bring those gifts back and all those discoveries and make them available to everyday folks so that we can be healthier and get people off the junk. Because there's a lot of junk food out there. There's a lot of potato chips
Yeah.
with all kinds of terrible oils in it. There's a lot of French fries with all kinds of vegetable oils, which are rancid in it. There's a lot of beef out there, which is contaminated. There's a lot of dairy products, which are unfit for the consumption of children. It's really something
It's
that
bad.
it's really something that we've
bad.
each got to take responsibility for. Even if you're a child, even if you're 10 years old, you've really got to start looking at your food and taking responsibility. And that's why I recommend organic food. I recommend working with farmers, going to farmers markets and finding out where is this food coming from, who's the farmer behind it. And if you connect with a farmer, then you've really got something great going on because then
Yeah.
you've got that connection
Yeah.
and you know how clean it is, you know where it's
Yeah.
coming from, which to me, when I was a child, was a big discovery.
So, where do you get your omega-3 oils? There's a
Like,
lot of talk about
there's
that.
a lot of talk about long chain omega-3 fatty acids, and at the perimeter of gastronomic exploration, because I'm a vegetarian and I don't recommend vegetarianism for everybody, but I'm glad I'm a vegetarian. And of course, all these chemicals accumulate higher up the food chain. So I'm trying to expose myself to the least amount of chemicals in the food chain. Plus, I don't like killing chickens. I don't want to kill a cow. It's not where I'm at.
Yeah.
So these omega-3 fatty acids are usually found in fish, and I've never been a fish eater. I've
Oh,
never ate fish. I've maybe eaten fish 10 times in my whole life. And this is an area where I kind of don't really like the flavor of fish, but I know the importance of the fish oil, the omega-3 fatty acids. So I went back into the research and found out where does the fish get its oil from? And it actually comes all the way back down to krill, and then the krill get it from marine phytoplankton. And marine phytoplankton, I have a particular one that I like as a powder. I can add it to things. It tastes kind of like shrimp, but it's a plant. And it contains 10% by dry weight EPA, which is eicosaponic acid, which is one of the great omega-3 fatty acids that we require for good health and for brain health and for eye health. Okay, well, number one signal of health, in my opinion, is that you do not ever get sick.
Okay.
So there's no colds, flus, coughs, fevers, anything like that. It's out of the question. No way.
Okay.
We have a technology now where we can use herbalism, we can use food and diet strategically so that we don't ever have to suffer from these extremes of pneumonias and colds and flus and all kinds of coughs and all of that.
Yeah.
So that's one symbol. Another is the energy. that I can get up every day and work every day, 24/7, 365. Every day, I've done over 2,000 live events all over the world, and I've never missed one event.
Wow.
So that's right there should probably be
Yeah.
a little bit of a symbol, I
Yeah.
think, that
Yeah.
like, hey, maybe something's going on with this guy.
Yeah.
What's
How
going
much
on there?
sleep do you get?
It varies. I'll sleep as little as nothing, all the way to 5.5 hours. If I sleep more than 5.5 hours, I feel like I've overslept.
Really?
Yeah, because I used to be an 8-hour a night sleeper, and if the healthier that you are, the less sleep that you need. But sleep's very important.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get people to get the wrong idea, like, oh, this guy's sleeping 5.5 hours. We should sleep that. And that's not true. It's taken me a long time to kind of get back to 5.5 hours as being the zone where, I feel like I've got it in a good night's sleep. Sleep is our time for rejuvenation. Sleep is our time to take all that chaos of the day and integrate it. And we've got to have the right amount of sleep for us, and I think we actually all know what that is.
Do you do exercise?
I exercise quite a bit, especially lately. And I've been
Really?
doing yoga every single day for the
okay.
last 30 days. That's been a thing I've been on
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
I also like to surf occasionally. Occasionally I'll go out for a run. I really like rebounding a lot. I've been lifting weights recently. And I feel like I'm getting way more into fitness now because I've been unburdened of a bunch of desk work. I have to tell you, I was doing so much desk work there for a while. You'd think, this guy's a health guy. How can he have desk work? You'd be surprised.
No, I understand.
You know how it
I'm
is.
the same
Yeah,
way.
it's a lot of computer time, and I've decided I'm going to put as a priority exercise ahead of that computer.
Yeah.
Which is an important decision, and I've made that decision because now I'm getting big enough in the world that I've got to really not only be like the health guy, but I've also got to be a fitness guy. It's a reward. How do you train a dog? How do you train a cat? How do you train a dolphin? You reward the cat, the dog, the dolphin with food.
Yeah.
So we've got to start learning that about ourselves.
That you do need a reward.
You need a reward every now and then.
Yes.
Performance that is rewarded will be repeated.
Okay, but now there's another health person out there, I won't mention his name, who mentioned that he was eating too much chocolate. And they did a blood test on him, and lo and behold, his blood was not that healthy. And so I think he's diminishing his chocolate intake. Do you think that has anything to do with it, or could there be
Probably
other
not.
factors?
Well, there's a lot. There's so many factors. It's hard to say one thing. One thing we know about chocolate is actually the best food overall for your heart. And it's always been associated with the cardiovascular system. Now, I could say that and then somebody else could say something else.
Yeah.
But I have provided the evidence. I have provided the scientific evidence, over 200 studies that I have listed on websites all over the world that back chocolate is important for cardiovascular health. In fact, to this degree, the more chocolate that you eat in your life, and of course I'm talking about dark chocolate, raw chocolate, real chocolate, not the junk with all the sugar in it and the milk products, but the real dark chocolate.
Yeah.
The more chocolate that you eat, the longer you will live and the less likely you will die of a heart attack. And that's been known for forever. And in fact, the research is indicating that chocolate is in fact the #1 longevity food in the world.
Interesting.
So if you look at the longest lived people and you start looking at their diet, chocolate comes up. You'll see chocolate, you'll see honey, you'll see olive oil. And that to me is a very strong indicator that I'm on the right track. So I do believe in actually backing my words up with science. Now, if I was reading all this literature and it said chocolate's terrible, it's the worst thing ever, it's killing people, then I would change my tune. But it doesn't say that. It says the exact opposite. Everything we're eating is drugs. I mean, when you look at a standard processed potato chip bag, you've got almost 15 drugs in that potato chip bag. And we have to get out of this whole thing that like this is a drug and that is not. It's very juvenile, actually. We are much more sophisticated than that. And we also got to get out of this idea that drugs are all bad. Look, if somebody eats a piece of chocolate at night because they're having a craving and it's helping them get through their premenstrual syndrome, that's a good drug. That's the kind of thing we want. It's better than them reaching for 3 glasses of wine and going driving on the road at night.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we fool ourselves about this whole thing about drugs. This drug's okay, but this drug's not.
Yeah.
We've got to get a little bit more sophisticated than that. And
would you say that all sugar is a drug to some extent?
Yes, I would. But it's natural and you need it.
Yeah.
So we can't say that sugar's always a bad drug because you actually need glucose.
Right. Okay. So in a sense, it creates your own reserves and it activates your own brain reserves. The sugar does.
Yeah, you actually need sugar to run your brain.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's like oxygen. We could make an argument. We could spend all day making an argument that oxygen is an absolute toxin. It burns you. It stings you. Eventually, it turns your skin wrinkly, and you get burned up in the atmosphere. We could also make an argument that you can't live for 10 minutes without oxygen. It's vital because it's both.